Welcome, stranger. Doing another tutorial video here on the Nikkormat on how to get the cap, that it's kind of decor cap, is that what it's called, off the advanced lever. It's just there for looks. And they get stuck and they're hard to get off, and there's no way to put a tool on it to get it off. Over the years, I've experimented with about 4 different ways to get it off without hurting it. And I thought this video would be a good way to share those methods for DIY camera repairmen out there. And let's get started. This cap here has no holes here or here to put a spanner in and unwind it. And the edges are curved, as you can see here. It's got a little bit of a flat part, and then it's curved. And you can't grip it. So how do you get it off? And why did they make it that way? Anyway, used to, when the camera was new, I could buy these caps, so I didn't have to worry about it too much. But later, when Nikon stopped making parts for the Nikkormat, I couldn't get them. And when a customer sends in a camera, and I've got to get this cap off, and the problem is the caps are stuck because they've been there for 40 plus years sometimes. And so I'm going to show you the various ways I went through to get these caps off without damaging them, hopefully. And that's what we're going to be looking at. Okay, let's move on. Okay, from the beginning, let's go back to the 70s and 80s. You've got your camera here. Customer just gave it to you. You need to get this cap off. Or if you're working one today, you're a do-it-yourselfer, you need to get that cap off without damaging it because you don't have another one. And they're really easy to scratch. So, how did we get them off back originally in the 70s and 80s? There was a tool you could buy. It was a round rubber, and I don't remember now what it was called. I'm putting a slide up on the right-hand side of the screen here so you can see what it looks like. And what you'd do is you would press it against this cap and go counterclockwise, and the cap would come off because the cameras were new and the threads were not binding at that time, and there was no problems, and they worked for years and years. But eventually these caps started getting harder and harder to come off, and oxide would build up on the threads between the screw and the nut. The cap is a screw, the nut is underneath it, and it's in the very center. It's very small. And so that tool I was using, my rubber tool, they started out being, when you bought them, they're gummy. But later, whatever caused it to be gummy would dry out, the rubber would get harder, and it wouldn't stick to the cap. The cap was getting harder to undo each year, and so pretty soon those rubber tools became useless. I threw mine away years ago because they turned gray and were dried out. And that's the reason I'm using a picture. So what did we do? What did we do? What did I do? I looked at it. I know this seems like a lot of trouble for such a simple thing, but these caps are a dickens to get off, and you will damage it. You need to know how to get them off without damaging them. Moving in close here, look at that bottom edge there. It's straight. That's about 1/8 of an inch. It's very small. And if you go past it, then it slants up. If you could get a tool on that 1/8 of an inch, you could apply pressure and unscrew it counterclockwise. And so that's what I did. I made I don't know what this is called now. Are they called channel locks? I don't know. This was made back in the say 80s. What I did is I got a Dremel tool, and I rounded it out here and here, and got 400 sandpaper, and I tried to make the edges as sharp as I could, or as straight as I could, so they would engage that 1/8 of an inch on the cap. And luckily for me, they actually worked pretty good at that time. The caps were still sticking, but not that bad. Bad enough that the rubber tool wouldn't work anymore, but I would press it in like here, and then I would squeeze, but not too tight. If you squeeze real hard, it'll jump, and it'll go up the side and scratch the cap on the side. And the cap is made of brass, and it would show up. You'd see a bright brass-colored scrape on the edge. And so I'd grip it slightly, press my fingers on it, then go counterclockwise until it broke free. I wouldn't go any further. If you do, you're liable to scratch the top of this right here, or you're liable to slip. And then once I got it free, then I used my rubber tool, or my finger, or anything really, to pull it out. Once you broke one free, they came out. Well, this worked good for, 20, 30 years. And but they kept every year getting harder and harder to get out. Now, if a camera repairman had worked on it previously and they had broke it free, then it wasn't so bad. But if it was a original camera and had never been into, these screws, or this cap was, it was like, what am I trying to think here? An adhesive was holding it in there, glue, and they're really hard to get out. And so I had to find another method, because pretty soon these channel locks wouldn't work anymore. So first we started out with I started out with the rubber tool, then the channel locks. Screw got harder to get out, and so now I had to find a new method. Okay, years passed, and this cap kept getting harder and harder to come off the camera on some units, on most of them actually. Unless another repairman had been in there and had broke them free and cleaned the threads on this and put them back. So the tool that I was using all those years started slipping more and more. Instead of damaging one cap in 5, I started damaging about half, 50-50. I would have to press in harder and try to hold it down, but it would slip. And when it slipped, it would scrape the side here and leave a nice brass mark on it that the customer could see. And they didn't want that on their camera. So I had to figure out some way to get these caps off without damaging them. The only other solution was to buy more Nikkormats off eBay and just hopefully get the caps off them and put it on the customer unit. So I looked around and looked and thought, and finally came up with this solution here: acetone and double-sided tape, which is the method I use today, is the safest. It won't damage the cap. The tool I was using could slip and damage them, but these can't. This is your acetone. I had a big bottle of it, but I was afraid of spilling it, so I put it in this small glass one. Set it aside. And this right here, I cut from the tape, or the double-sided tape, to make it the size of the cap. Now we can get this out of the way. Now here's the cap, and we put this right on top like so, and then press it down like so. And I don't know why this works better than that my tool does that I was using previously, but for some reason it does. It seems to apply more pressure, or possibly in a different way, than these right here. You would think these would apply more pressure, but this seems to apply even more pressure. So I put it on there like so. Let you peel that off like so. And you want to get a good double-sided tape, one that's really sticky. Okay, now that's there. That double-sided tape on there is gooey, which is what you want. And so what I would do now is I would turn it sideways like so, put my thumb on it like so, press down as hard as I could, and then twist counterclockwise. And I'd be pressing so hard that the tape would stick to me. Sometimes it was so even advanced the camera because I was putting so much pressure on it. I don't know why this method applies so much pressure to that cap, but it doesn't damage it, and it does get most of them free. Now, what if that doesn't work? Then what? What if you try and your double-sided tape is still not working? Well, you fall back to this acetone right here. The acetone will damage this leather here, so you have to remove this leather. But the acetone will not damage anything else that I'm aware of, or at least it hasn't so far, because it's all metal and brass under there, steel and brass. There is one plastic, I don't know what it's, I'll show it to you here. There's plastic in there, but the acetone that I've used in the past has not damaged that. So I hate telling you to do this, but the only way I know how to do it is you put it up on a surface that is wood or metal or something that the acetone won't damage. And then you actually have to pour it and try to get it to run down here between the nut and the screw, this cap and what it's screwed into, and just hope some acetone gets down in there. You have to apply it and then come back several hours later or a day later and try again with the double-sided tape. Again, you can try on this side if you want to. It's hit or miss. The screw, as you can see, is dead center. So the acetone that you spill in is going to have to drip down and get into the threads, and then go down the threads here to loosen it up. And sometimes that can take overnight. And it's a terrible method, but I have to use it because I can't damage a cap on a customer unit. So I have to pour it in there and then let it sit. Like I said, you can try immediately, try an hour later, try the next day, pour it in there again. You don't want to get the acetone on this window here. It will damage it. And you don't want to get the acetone on this leather here. You got to remove this leather, and when you're doing it, maybe you can put this slightly up and pour from this angle down here, and it'll spill out, of course, run out of the camera. Looks terrible. I wish there were a better way, but this does work, and it does not damage this cap. That's my three methods, really. The original method, move this back up here slightly, switch cameras maybe. The original method was a rubber tool that you press down. Then, as they got harder to turn, I made this tool right here, and it worked most of the time. You press down, broke it free, and then undid the rest of it with your finger. I suppose you could use even double-sided tape for that if you wanted to, but the main thing this tool was used for was just to break the threads apart for that eighth of an inch, quarter of an inch, get them going, and then go ahead and move it out. Then the final thing that I used was this double-sided tape. When I first tried it, I didn't have much faith in it, but it did work. Of course, I guess you've got to really press down and have a strong thumb to do it, but for some reason, I think that the reason it works so well is because when you're using your tool, you're just pressing against the edge right here. You don't have much surface area in contact with that cap. But when you use a double-sided tape, you're applying force to the whole area of the cap, the top. So it increases even though you're probably using less force, you're using over a greater area. And they do break free and come out. And I've had really good luck with this. Also, these tools like this damage it, or at least there's a chance of it. Where with the tape, I can fail again and again and again and not damage that cap. And like I said, acetone. Things like alcohol or naphtha will not work. Don't even bother trying. I've tried. They won't melt the, I say melt. It's not really a melting. Whatever is causing those threads to stick down in the nut, the oxide, the acetone will get it, where alcohol and naphtha will not. So definitely use acetone, or don't even try. I can save you a lot of time by just telling you that. So just like I said, try to keep your acetone away from this. It'll destroy it. Tilt it up. Pour it down in here. How much is up to you. A little bit at first. Try it and see if that works. If not, try more. You got to realize the screw, like here, sorry, the camera's is like this, so the screw is pointed down, and so you want to get that. You want to tilt it like this. You want it to the acetone to run underneath this cap, get to that thread, go down into the hole, and loosen up whatever's gumming it up, and then use your double-sided tape to get it out. There may be other ways that I'm unaware of. They made all kinds of tools back then that you could use to get parts of cameras off, but the trouble was this 1/8 of an inch edge here, the tools couldn't grip it. The only thing you could use was the rubber that you press down on it. Now, people working at a factory doing factory repairs is no problem. They could just go get a new cap. And repairmen back in the 60s and I say 60s, 70s, 80s could just buy caps. But and the time of this, I'm making this video, is 2024, and you can't get these caps. And so you got to be real careful taking them off. If you damage it, there's no solution that's practical. You've got to go to eBay and buy non-working Nikkormats, and the one that you buy may also have the same problem, or not. You know, you buy 2 or 3. One of them will be loose enough that you can get it off and put on your camera. And since it's your camera, maybe you don't care if there's a scratch on it. But since I'm doing commercial repairs, the customers do care, and I have to make sure to not damage that cap. Okay, we're going to move along here to another topic about those caps. Some of you are going to be asking yourself, well, why is he spending so much time on such a simple thing? It's just a cap. You just take it off and that's it. Well, it seems simple until it's your cap and your camera, and you want to get it off without damaging it because you don't have an extra one. I'm a camera repairman. I've got extra caps. The amateur doesn't, and he'll have to order another non-working Nikkormat off of eBay and buy it just for that cap if he damages the one he has on there. So that's why we're taking so much time. Now this one here is the one that's on my camera. As you can see, I've got this one out. You can see it's about an 1/8 inch. You can see how small that screw is. They will break off. I have broken them off before into the camera, and suffered greatly getting that out of there. And so the second one, I'm going to get another pair of tweezers here. This is the one they started putting on the Nikkormat later. Why? They raised the dome. Thank you very much, Nikon. Why couldn't you just put some holes in it to help us out? But they didn't. Same thing. It's got the 1/8 inch edge on it. They just made the dome higher. So counting on the Nikkormat you've got, whether it's one of the newer ones or later ones, you'll have one of these two caps. I just wanted to show you ahead of time for those of you removing the caps on your Nikkormat. There they are. Now we'll get those out of the side here and move along. Okay, I didn't know whether to include this last method or not, because unless you're working in your own camera, I know you're bored to death. Nothing I can do about this. It's bad. But there is a final way that you can get that cap off without going crazy, which I've done a few times, but not often. And that is that you get this, let's see here. Move over here to another camera. You get some small drill bits for your Dremel tool, like so. And then with the cap still on the camera, you build a jig. I guess you'd call it a jig. I don't know what you'd call it. But you try to get them opposite of each other on each side. Use a punch a hole or an indent, and drill those two holes there. Once you get the holes in the cap, you can use a pointed tool like this, and it'll come off real easy. And the only problem is I can't do this with customer units because they don't want to get their Nikkormat back with holes in the cap. And usually I couldn't get them as good as this one either, as accurate. So if you've got, it's your own camera and you want the cap off, this is the last method and it does work. But the problem is getting the holes symmetrical and, making it look good enough that you would want to keep it that way. You might want to get another Nikkormat off eBay and replace it. The other problem that I'll tell you about now, I'll warn you about, bear with me, is this little screw here. This is not a nut, this is actually a screw that's attached to this top cover. Is awfully small, and it's brass. So it's not very strong to begin with. And this cap was made to come off just with a rubber tool. And if it's stuck in there so hard that it takes this pointed tool, you're applying a tremendous amount of force on this screw here in the bottom. And they will break off. I have broken off, I'm going to say about 3 of them in 40 years. And since it's a customer unit, I didn't have an option of quitting. I had to drill this broken off part out of the camera, and it took an hour or more, or replace the shaft underneath that it was stuck into. I had those two choices. So when you, if you decide to go this route, and I hope you don't have to, but if you do, and you're screwing this off, once you get your holes in and you get the tool in here, I'm going to move over here, don't just go 360 and try to get this cap off, because there's a high likelihood if it's stuck that hard that you'll break it. When you get your tool in here and you're ready to go, just go like, a 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, and then go back. And then 1/8 of an inch again, and then back. In other words, back and forth, rock it back and forth, until it's free. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to, on these threads all the way up and down, getting that oxide that's on that loose, so you can back it out without breaking that off. So just remember, if you're frustrated and you've drilled holes in it and you're tired, it can get worse if you force it and break that screw off into the nut. So if you decide to go this route, and like I said, I didn't even know if I should mention it, it's so Well, ugly. I don't like the idea of it. Drilling holes in camera parts to get them off. Go easy. Go just an eighth of an inch or a fourth of an inch at a time, back and forth, rock it. Don't be in a hurry until it's free before you start backing it out completely. And if it goes part way and gets stuck, do the same thing. Rock it back and forth, and then slowly get it out. These are not car parts. These are camera parts. This one is made of brass. It's not very strong. And it's not that you can't replace the cap. You can get another cap to put in your camera. The problem is that if the screw is broken off down in the camera shaft, then that's another whole job, a long job. You got to replace the shaft, or you got to drill out the screw and hopefully not damage the threads on the shaft and replace it. So just be careful. And like I said, I didn't want to mention this part of it. I thought about it to myself, and I thought, yeah, I might as well just go all the way. I've gone this far. So that's it. That's the whole story on removing the cap and the different methods of getting it off. And for those of you that are actually doing this sort of thing, I wish you good luck. And that's all the knowledge that I have on the subject. So let's move along. Okay, that's it. That's my 4 methods for getting the that decorative cap off the advanced lever on the Nikkormat. I hope one of them works for you. If you've got a method of your own that you want to write down in the comments, I'd be glad to read it, and might even decide to use it or try it. I doubt that all camera repairmen use the same method for getting that cap off, but those are mine. Nikon, it sure would have helped a lot if they just put a couple of holes in it so I could use a tool to get it off there. It saved me a lot of trouble over the years. And I'm rambling, and that's it. Thanks for dropping by. Later.